I've been carrying Elizabeth's pendant with me for months. But since we're gonna stay a while, I think I'll keep it here, where it'll be safe. My old spear. Rust helped me make it. When I finished my training. Feels like so long ago now. When it looks impossible, look deeper. And then fight like you can win. I will, Rost. Now, and always. This is the rite of passage that Vishav gave me at the embassy. I liked him. He seemed like a good man. I think he was really looking forward to going home. With Regalla out of the way, Hekarro and Tenakth, they're safe. The future's up to them now. I do wish they'd drop all the honorary names they've given me. But if I've learned anything about them, that it's not a battle I am going to win. Focus. It's Varl's. I used to think no Nora would ever accept one. But Varl did. Even when he was overwhelmed. He refused to let me push him away. I failed Varl at Gemini. I should have pushed harder. I should have done more. I'd give anything to have him back.
Aloy, it appears that we have some interesting new guests. I'm glad to see you're okay, though. I heard you gave the Tenakth something to talk about. I was half expecting you to burst in through the ceiling riding a Sunwing.
Sorry to disappoint. Thoughts on our new Zenith acquaintance?
I'd say she smells like death, but even death smells of something. She's more like a cold piece of metal. Bent on repelling all semblance of life.
She's definitely different. Ready to head over to the Zenith base?
Whatever comes, we will endure.
Have you talked to any of our new friends?
Erend and I tried speaking to Sylens, but apparently our tribal prattle is unnecessary.
Charming, isn't he? How's Erend doing?
For a moment there, he thought he'd lost both you and Varl. But he never truly succumbed to despair. Guess that Oseram's stubbornness comes in handy sometimes.
Anything interesting happen while I was away?
Erend told us how you tracked down the Oseram supplying Regalla with machines. In fact, he's quite adamant about relating the tale at least twice a day. But I can tell it meant a lot that you asked for his help.
I wouldn't have been able to track them down if it wasn't for him. I hope everybody's ready for this. Fighting the Zeniths isn't going to be easy.
Aloy, nothing you do ever is. At least, now you don't have to do it alone.
Thanks. Everyone here... training, working together. If it weren't for Varl... none of it would have happened.
You know... there was this one night, right before Varl left with you to go to Gemini. He realized I was having trouble sleeping. I was nervous about the mission. To be honest, I think we both were. So, he asked me to join him in Gaia's dome. He brought up this hologram of Earth that you two found back in the Zenith launch facility. We sat there, just looking at it. I thought about how Plainsong was just a speck on that great sphere. How every corner of it must be teeming with life. And any fears I had about our mission were gone. I miss him terribly.
I know. You and Erend seem to be on better terms now.
He may have terrible taste in music, but he did apologize for mocking my tribe. And that ale he keeps raving about isn't half bad. I still plan on beating that stubborn face of his to break our sparring stalemate.
Try not to hurt him too bad.
There is one favor I would ask of you.
What is it?
You placed this focus in my care, and gave me the highest calling an Utaru has ever known. If I should fall in battle, I'd like you to be the one to bury my seed pouch. For the both of us.
So,
Make sure you stay alive to do so.
Let's just try to all come back home. Okay? I have to go. I trust you to keep things civil around here.
I'll make sure Aaron doesn't punch Sylens in the face, if that's what you mean.
Thanks.
Aloy, you came back with some interesting friends.
Wish I could say we don't need them. But Sylens and Tilda are here for a reason.
Yeah, enemy of my enemy and all that, right?
Right.
Oh, before I forget. Here. Something to commemorate our mission. We did good together.
Yeah, we did. Doesn't look like any of our guests are making trouble.
Yet. So, Kotallo tells me you flew. Well, that's new. I've been busting my balls trying to learn to read. You're out there having all the fun.
Don't worry. They'll be getting all the fun you can handle soon. With the Zeniths.
Looking forward to it.
You, talked to Tilda at all?
I tried. I don't think even a hot forge could melt that ice. And you say she wants to help?
I think so. Well, let's hope. I guess Sylens is keeping to himself, as usual.
I was hoping he'd give me an excuse to hammer his sorry ass to the ground.
Please don't.
You telling me you wouldn't want to get just one good hit on that smug face of his? After everything he's done?
Sure. Later. Right now, he's got something we need. We're finally doing this.
Never thought I'd be off on a mission to take down a bunch of immortals from the stars. I can hear the drinking songs already.
If that one's not working right, you can have one of my spare focuses, you know.
Yeah, little bugger's got some personality, that's all. This saved my butt a couple of times now. It wouldn't feel right to leave it behind. You know, besides, it goes with my outfit.
Wouldn't want to spoil your look. Varl made the right call. You know, bringing you here.
Thanks. Yeah, Varl. You know, I never knew he had a sister. I found out a few days before you guys went to Gemini. I was, well, to be honest, I was terrified I'd screw up the mission somehow. So he sat me down for a drink. Just one, mind you. And we talked about family. Vala, Ursa, loss and revenge. How you helped us.
You know, we never did get that drink you promised back in the Embrace. And you never told me exactly how your sister escaped the Mad Sun King.
I guess we never got round to it. World ending and all. No time like the present, though. If you're up for it.
You think it's time for us to finally have that drink?
Yeah? I mean, yeah, of course. Oh.
So, how did Ursa escape Mad Sun King Jiran's palace?
Well, first she had to survive the Sun Ring. See, during the war, the Carja threw a prisoner a day in there. And, you know, for what? To die as sacrifices, fighting machines in a pit. Thinking somehow that was gonna appease all the other deranged machines in the world? Ha! And when it was Ursa's turn, the Carja thought she'd go down if they threw a big machine at her.
Oh, but she didn't.
As she defeated all of them. Even got some of Jiran's kestrels for good measure. And the Mad Sun King was impressed, I guess. Thought it'd be funny to have her run around his palace as a servant. He enjoyed humiliating her that way.
I remember you telling me something about that. That's how she met Avad. He helped her escape.
Yeah, but what no Carja scroll will ever tell you is how the young prince snuck Ursa out of the palace. He knew their best chance was to get Ursa to blend in, so he got her everything she needed to disguise herself as a Carja noblewoman. Yeah, perfumes, veils, and all.
I get the feeling she wasn't too happy with that.
Oh man, Ursa would have rather fought her way out of that palace with her bare hands than put on all of that Karja eye paint. But Avad insisted it was the only way, so she agreed under one condition. Avad had to dress up as well.
She made Avad dress up like a noblewoman?
As perfumed and powdered as a babe. Ursa said he looked better like that than he ever did in a crown.
That would, definitely make for an interesting sight.
Oh, it worked like a charm, too. Not only did they make it out of the palace, they paid a traveling merchant to get Ursa to the border, and none were the wiser.
You were right. That was a story best told over a drink.
All good stories are.
I guess I should get going.
I'll see you at the rendezvous point, with my hammer ready.
I wouldn't have it any other way. I better get going.
Oh, you know where to find me.
You flew? Kotalo told me. And took out Regala's machines? You know what? I don't even know why I'm surprised. I saw we have visitors and a new weapon. Does this mean we're ready to take the fight to the Zeniths?
Almost.
Oh, and I wanted to give you this for helping me get the data on Leviathan. I didn't really know what to give you, so I asked Zoe what you might like.
Thanks, Alva. I'll put it to good use. You nervous?
I'd be lying if I said I'm not slightly apprehensive.
The plan will work if we all focus on our assignments.
Right.
The rest of us should be enough of a distraction to the Zeniths for you to hack into their network undetected. But you'll have to be quick, in case they do.
What exactly do you expect me to find, Aloy?
I don't know. The truth, if we're lucky. Kotalo will protect you inside the Zenith base.
I'm not afraid. I know Kotalo will fulfill his duty, as will I. If we die doing so, at least it'll be alongside a friend.
I'd rather you both stay alive, if you don't mind.
We'll try and keep that in mind.
Once all this is over, will you go back across the ocean?
I don't know. The more I think about it, the more worried I become. If I go back, I don't even know if they'd let me keep this focus you gave me, or what they'd do to me for reading what is clearly forbidden data. Even if I somehow were allowed to carry on my duties as a diviner, would I be willing to let the truths I've learned about the ancestors be buried away by the Board of Overseers? Would I dare challenge them and risk my family's safety? Or losing Federa?
Who's this Federa you mentioned?
She is another diviner. One of our best. We used to be rivals at the academy. I hated her guts. But apparently there's a fine line between hate and love. We became very close, and then I was assigned to the expedition. She promised she'd wait for me, no matter how long it took.
Well, that was smart of her. She won't do any better.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I do. I want you to know I'm glad you're with us, Alva.
Whatever happens, I'm grateful that the legacy brought us together. I never thought I'd get to actually meet an ancestor.
Come on, do I look that old? Have you looked through the data we recovered on Leviathan?
There is much to sort through still, but I believe we'll be able to get it operational and turn back the floods. And I've given more thought to everything we've uncovered about the ancestors. The Overseers would have us believe they were infallible paragons. But Pharaoh wasn't. Not even close. His greed led to machines that devoured the world. The archive of the Old One's knowledge destroyed, just to erase his mistakes. So, when we learned that Eileen had a hand in covering up hundreds of deaths, I started to think they were all the same. Selfish, egotistical, cruel. But, in the end, it's not that simple. The truth isn't a straight line of ink on a crisp scroll. It's a splatter, smudged and faded on stained parchment. I wish more Quen could see that. instead of looking the other way or twisting the truth to serve their own schemes.
I doubt Bohai would agree with you.
No, nor the rest of the Board of Overseers. As Eileen said, it's easier to believe the lie is truth, but it's worth fighting for. And this diviner, at least, won't settle for anything less. For that, I thank you, Aloy.
I suppose you saw that Tilda is here. Our very own Zenith.
I almost went up to her to ask her, well, every question I've ever had about the legacy. Every diviner I know would kill to get 5 minutes with one of the old ones. But now that she's here, all I feel is a vague unease. I don't know if I'm scared of finding out more uncomfortable truths, or just scared of her. Probably both.
So, all of the tribes here are new to you?
Yes, I've been studying up on them. The most fascinating one thus far has been the Tenakth, an entire culture based on the holograms of an ancient museum. There's much they've misinterpreted, not unlike the Quen. But still, there's a nobility to what they've become. They're honorable and fearless.
And deadly. You sure you're okay going on this mission? I know things must be happening pretty fast for you.
I've already braved oceans and madmen who thought they were ancestors reborn. Why not a few immortals with lethal drones at their command, too?
Guess the more the merrier. I hope our new guests have been behaving.
This Silence, he's the one who built the weapon that can take down Zenith shields?
He is. Though I wouldn't expect him to answer any questions about it. He refuses to dole out his secrets to us lesser mortals.
Oh.
You know that special part of us that makes us warm, kind, welcoming?
Our spirit?
Yeah. He was born without that. How are you holding up?
Varl's loss is heavy on everyone's mind. I didn't know him well, but I can see how much he meant to the others. Zoe and Erend seem to have taken to it the hardest, but I don't quite know what to say to them.
They need time to sort through it.
And what about you? Will time heal your wounds?
I don't know. I try not to think about it. We won't let the Zeniths get away with what they've done.
Everyone's ready to take the fight to the enemy.
And you?
Nervous? But I'm ready too.
Don't worry. We'll get through this together. I need to get going.
I'll be at the rendezvous point. May truth lead us to victory.
Haven't seen you since the battle at the Grove. How are you holding up?
I saw you fly on the wings of the Ten, and paralyze Regala's army with lightning. I would say that I am inspired.
Thank you, I guess.
It is I who should be thanking you.
So, how are we feeling about the mission?
I do not know everything that you have planned, but it doesn't matter. All that remains is to follow you to the end, whatever that will be.
Thank you, Kotallo. I'm glad all this brought us together.
You brought us together, and I am grateful too.
Now that training time is over, what's on your mind?
The Bulwark, the Kulrut, and how we need another miracle if we're to survive the Zenith base.
I'll try not to let you down.
I know you will not.
We didn't really get to talk about what happened at Gemini.
There was nothing more to say. If he were Tenakth, Varl's bravery would have earned him sacred burial at the Grove, among the most distinguished of our tribe's warriors. His deeds were worthy of the Ten. When the fight is done, I will have the Inkers etch his memory on my skin, so that it may live on.
I'm sure he'd be honored. Your people keep mentioning the wings of the Ten. What exactly does it mean?
The visions tell us that the Ten flew on great metal machines with wings, and leapt into battle from the sky. For us, to imitate this feat is the ultimate expression of martial prowess. It is why the challengers leap into the arena during the Kulrut. And now, You have done it. Like the deeds of the Ten themselves, it will never be forgotten. So, tell me, how did it feel?
I won't lie. Pretty good.
I can only imagine.
Did you meet Tilda?
There is something about her that doesn't seem natural. I wouldn't be surprised if my sword went through her and she didn't bleed at all.
Honestly, with her, nothing would surprise me. Things will get ugly once the Zeniths realize we're in their base. You'll need every trick you've ever learned.
I would have it no other way. Many soldiers died in the old world to make sure we stood here today. We will endure on their behalf. Though, I am curious how you intend to defeat the Zenith's defenses without an army of our own.
Leave that to me. Just make sure you're ready to fight.
As you say. You have more than earned my trust.
Anything new going on I should know about?
The Quen has been more insistent than usual, asking about the visions at the Grove. Her pursuit of knowledge is relentless. The Ten would have a hard time fighting her off.
Just think of her like one of your chaplains.
Yes. Only more persistent.
Did Aaron tell you we found the people who gave Regalla's rebels the power to override machines?
He told me of the battle. I suggested he etch this victory on his fighting arm with one of our Inkers.
Is he going to do it?
He didn't say no.
I'll see you soon then.
It will be my honor.
I see you've got your new arm ready to go.
Yes. It still feels strange. I've gotten used to the absence, but no matter. I'm sure I will need it before the attack on the Zenith base is through. Where's that music the Oseram plays?
Bravo. You managed to sway a Zenith to your side. Care to explain?
Not a chance. I thought you said the weapon was ready.
There's always room to optimize. But that's not why you're here. I assume you want to comprehend my undertakings. So, ask away.
Since when were you so forthcoming?
Since you turned this into a waiting game. And as it seems you have found modest success, perhaps I'm willing to be generous.
Okay, so your big plan, everything you've been manipulating for the last few months. Let me see if I got this straight. You learned about the Zeniths from Hades when you interrogated it. Then you came up with a plan to defeat them by using a Tenakth army and that weapon. And to get the Tenakth to fight for you, or rather the Sons of Prometheus, armed Regalla's rebels with override tech.
Did you have an actual question, or are you still playing catch-up?
So all this time, even before I found the coordinates at the Spire, you were out here scheming. Why couldn't you just tell me?
When I learned of the Zenith's return to Earth, I laid out my plans. I knew I would one day require an army of overzealous Tenakth to assault the Zenith base. The casualties would be extreme. And I knew you would never allow such a sacrifice, no matter how necessary. Thus, I devised a means to remove your interference from the equation. At the Hades Proving Lab.
You wanted me to surrender to the Zeniths at the Hades Proving Lab. They almost killed me.
Based on everything I knew about them, I concluded they would find you a useful asset, thereby keeping you out of harm's way and, more importantly, out of my way.
So you really didn't know they had their own clone of Elizabeth?
No. Unfortunately, there was no way I could have known that particular detail.
Detail? Well, I guess if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here today. Why create the Sons of Prometheus? You didn't need a Sarah to make override tech.
They were a necessary safeguard. My time serving Hades in the Eclipse demonstrated the risks of getting directly involved. Through the Sons of Prometheus, I could execute my plans, all while remaining anonymous.
Except to a Sarah. How did you get a Sarah to work for you?
I knew there was an associate of the Oseram tinker, Dervahl, who escaped his failed assault on Meridian. It was trivial to track her down and gain her cooperation. She wanted to succeed where Dervahl had failed.
So you promised her Regalla, and the Tenakth. The Sarah would help you create a machine-riding army, and wanted to see Meridian burn as much as she did.
And so a partnership was born out of thirst for blood, bonded in mutual self-interest.
You think you had everything figured out, huh?
I did.
Tell me about the weapon. How does it work?
I've upgraded the delivery system. It now emits a wave-like effect covering a significant distance.
That doesn't fully answer my question.
No, but I'd be a fool to reveal its inner workings. After all, why did you withhold your plan for dealing with the Zenith drones? Yes, even you can appreciate the value of secrecy when warranted. Suffice it to say that the weapon will work. The intricacies of how is knowledge that is mine alone.
Why help Regalla take over? If you wanted an army, you could have just gone to Hekarro.
Before Regalla's rebellion, Hekarro was only concerned with battling machines and fostering friendships with the Carja. Even if I gained his ear, he would never agree to send his forces to battle a threat he couldn't understand.
So helping a bloodthirsty exile was easier.
Yes, exceedingly so. All Regalla craved was war against the Carja and anyone who threatens the Tenakth. She would have led the tribe into battle without question, which was precisely what I needed.
While I was out there, I had a couple run-ins with the Quen.
The tribe from across the ocean. And?
Their entire tribe was shaped around the discovery focuses. One of them, Alva, even joined me here. Don't you want to know more about them?
No. They stumbled upon the greatest technological artifact from the ancient world, and what did they do with it? They shrouded the knowledge they unearthed in mysticism and taboo, creating a pantheon out of corporate shills.
Yes, well, it also led them to Thebes.
Did it now?
We found Pharaoh at the end.
You must have needed Omega clearance. So, what was it like?
Worse than you can imagine.
He single-handedly wiped out collective human knowledge. I'm sure it was still less than he deserved.
Let me guess. You would have scraped him into a jar so you could prod his brain, like what you did with Hades.
For a start.
All right, Silence. I think I've talked to you long enough. I'll let you know when it's time to go. And try not to mess with Tilda while you're in here, okay? I don't need the two of you butting heads.
Ah, yes. About your Zenith ally. I wonder if you understand what kind of person you're dealing with. For someone to live as long as she has, outlast as many calamities, well, your goals may be aligned now, but I'd watch for the moment they diverge.
Yeah, I'm aware. Reminds me of someone else I know.
Survival is only a necessity to my greater purpose, Aloy. I'd hoped you'd recognize that by now.
Do you know something or not?
Oh, I know a great deal of things. But on this, just call it a feeling.
Oh, a feeling. You mean you finally had one? Huh. Guess even you can change, Silence.
Well done, Aloy. Despite my reservations, you managed to secure Silence and his weapon. You're truly a shining example of Liz's fortitude.
Everything you've said about Elizabeth. It sounds like you knew her better than you let on. Who was she to you, exactly?
Perceptive as ever. You're right. We were more than friends for a time.
Okay, so... what happened?
I was an orphan. I had always been alone. By my 30s, I was starting to wonder if that was simply my fate in life. And then I met Liz. We kept running into each other at conferences. We'd have coffee. At some point, it became drinks. I thought it was just shop talk, an exchange of ideas, but then I was surprised at how much I looked forward to seeing her. Soon we were flying halfway across the world every other week just to meet up. For the first time, I didn't feel lonely. I could imagine a future where I wasn't. I think Liz felt the same way at first. She had lost her mother a few years back. I filled a void for her. I know I did. But as time passed, it seemed as though she wanted less when I wanted more. and so we ended things.
So helping me, restoring Elizabeth's dream, it's what,
A second chance, yes. I made a mistake leaving Earth while Liz stayed behind. I should have done more. So when I saw you, a woman who has carved her own remarkable path, beyond even what made Liz a phenomenon, I knew I had to help you. To do right by her.
why do you think Elizabeth pulled away?
I've wondered that for 1,000 years. She was brilliant, visionary. She cared so deeply for the world, for the betterment of humanity. But it also felt like she kept everyone at arm's length, including me. She never wanted to share her burdens. I think, in the end, she had a core that she never let anyone be part of. Sometimes I wonder if anyone really knew her.
I found a recording of you and Elizabeth back in the proving lab after Far Zenith's attempt to steal Gaia.
Yes. A most unpleasant conversation.
She said something after the call. I think she regretted how things ended between you.
Did she? All this time, thank you for telling me. I've always hated that those were the last words we ever said to each other. And that her last impression of me was as a functionary of Far Zenith, not who I truly am.
So this channel you shared with Beta, none of the other Zeniths ever found out about it?
Gerard believes he's the most cunning of all of us. Even after 1,000 years, he still can't imagine that I would outwit him. The channel allowed me to interact with Beta away from their mistrustful eyes. It offered us a chance to be ourselves.
Until you cut off all contact.
Yes, though it pained me. I was worried that our meetings would do her more harm than good.
She felt like you tossed her aside.
I was afraid the others would find out and punish her. She may not have had the comforts of friendship anymore, but at least I ensured she was safe. I know it seems harsh, but you must believe that her well-being has always been paramount to me.
Why did you make the data channel look like your house?
I built that house as a shelter to weather any storm. A safe place, not just for me, but for the art stored in its depths. Cultural artifacts of incalculable value. Truly, some of the greatest achievements of human civilization.
And you wanted Beta to see them?
Yes. Her upbringing was so cold and technical. I thought if she could experience Vermeer and Rembrandt, it would bring something else into her life. A heritage every bit as valuable as the scientific and technical data being drummed into her. I'm sorry I had to cut off contact, but I'll never regret sharing this house with her. She needed its shelter even more than I did.
So you know a lot about me through my old focus. But what about you?
What would you like to know?
Well, start with your life on Earth.
When I was 8, terrorists flooded my home city. Thousands drowned, my parents included. I was one of the few who survived. My guardian sent me to boarding school. Among my peers, I was the strange girl, the orphan to be avoided. All because of circumstances beyond my control.
So we're a lot alike, huh?
Aren't we? You were an outcast, but you didn't let that stop you from getting what you needed. Neither did I. I climbed my way out of desolation and used my wits to build a fortune. First, from the technical analysis of art and the detection of forgeries. Profitable expertise in those days. But as it turned out, the software I developed was even more useful for counterintelligence. From there, it was only a short step to gathering extremely valuable intelligence on my own.
You are a spy?
More like a service one could turn to for information. I had to remain anonymous, of course, to protect my privacy. But despite that anonymity, Far Zenith inevitably sought me out.
What happened when Far Zenith approached you?
They painted an irresistible vision of humanity's future, one where we need not fear illness or death, where we explored the furthest reaches of the stars and thrived. It was only later that I realized that they only intended to bequeath this future to the rich and powerful. By the time I finally figured it out, the walls were closing in, Pharaoh's machines were devouring the Earth. So I accepted Far Zenith's invitation to a berth on the Odyssey. I wanted Liz to come, but she had nobler plans, as you well know.
You said before that you're not like the other Zeniths. That you never were. But you went along with all of their plans.
Out of necessity. I'm not proud of it, but complicity became a means of survival, both when Earth was consumed and when the colony on Sirius was destroyed. I did what I had to. But I resolved to remain one step ahead of the others, to try to undo what damage I could. Hence the data channel with Beta. The secret passage into their base and the little trick I pulled to save you.
When Beta escaped and hid in an ancient research facility, I saw another one of the Zeniths. Verbena. Who was she?
A dull star amidst a sea of brighter constellations. Unlike most of Far Zenith's members who amassed their wealth through shrewd business deals and technological achievements, Verbena inherited her billions. Her father had achieved great success in the luxury holotourism industry. At age 24, she became the world's most eligible bachelorette, branding herself a life designer. Someone who leverages their fame to influence the choice of others.
What? Like a cult?
In a way, yes.
Well, she must have done something right to have survived this long.
She was her own brand of ruthless. That much is true. But even rats can cling to a vessel for escape.
So, Eric. Was he always a bloodthirsty psychopath?
I believe he got worse over time. On Earth, he was the founder of a profitable private military company. A band of cutthroats, in other words. Even as governments abandoned human combatants in favor of automated warfare. He found success with clientele that required a more personal touch. There were also rumors that he personally hunted and killed his targets. On occasion, all for the thrill of it. But on Sirius, he retreated to virtual reality simulations. In them, he could go on rampages as violent as he pleased, though I suspect with diminishing satisfaction.
All of his tribe believes he was one of the greatest people from the old world.
Then they would be quite disappointed to meet him, though I'm sure he'd bask in the adoration.
Okay, so I've had run-ins with a handful of Zeniths. What about the rest?
An array of the wealthiest people on Earth, titans of their industries.
And let me guess, all selfish and ruthless to the core?
Most, but not all. There were a few with whom I got along. Annika Murjani, for instance, was always delightful. She founded the Holonet's most successful dance channel and was herself mesmerizing to watch. And I had fascinating discussions with Song Jiao about her work in cellular biology. Our immortality treatments are due in part to her achievements. But then there were others like Devin Miller, the CEO of a fast food printing corporation. His only real preoccupations were perfecting his golf swing and taking self-hollows. When I think about all of us, we really should have accomplished more. We had eternity.
What can you tell me about Gerard?
He was the head of the world's largest financial conglomerate, and as such had dealings with almost every major corporation. It made him one of the wealthiest people on Earth, and certainly the wealthiest among Far Zenith.
What does one person do with that much money?
Buy more power, more influence. Gerard's always believed himself to be a refined patrician. able to maintain control with a polished smile. But beneath that exterior is a cold and calculating operator. It was his decision to restrict Beta's upbringing to her digital educators, the avatars of the Apollo database, while we were painted as her benefactors.
Well, we'll deal with him soon enough. And the others.
I would very much like to see his face when he realizes we've beaten him.
What else can we expect to find in the Zenith base?
As I mentioned in the briefing, our goal will be the command center. That's where Beta and Gaia are being held. There are also printing facilities where the others have been amassing the natural resources they've stripped from the region.
What for?
First for use in the base's infrastructure, and then to fabricate more Spectre drones, a small army of them. In addition, they've also been ferrying materials to and from our ship in orbit. After hundreds of years luxuriating in our digital comforts, the ship was barely space-worthy when we made our escape. Disaster can strike at any moment. We've learned our lesson.
Have you figured out how Silence's weapon works?
No, and he's been very careful not to allow me near it. I'll admit it bothers me, but regardless of how it functions, I am confident it will deactivate the other shields en masse.
How many of them are in the base?
10, including Eric and Gerard. Only a handful of us made it to our ship when our colony collapsed.
Okay. I'll let you know when it's time.
I'll be here until then. And thank you, Aloy, for giving me this chance. My past has always been a struggle. More than once I've lost everything. But when I look to the future, I see Liz's dream fulfilled. A universe of new possibilities.
Maybe we can make it happen.
We will. I won't let anything get in the way. I promise you that.